Hey there, this is Caitlin Meeks with Tivoli Cloud, and I'm here right now to show you our cool new Blender to Tivoli pipeline. So here I've got a wonderful build by an artist named Lazybones. You can see here that this is a 501 megabyte Blender file with all of the textures embedded. It's a cartoonish dinosaur park with a lot of objects here in the Blender file. Let me just zoom in on them. It's kind of crazy, cartoony dinosaurs with hidden cell phone antenna. It's very strange and surreal with lots of fabric meshes being used. Let's see. So let's see what's involved in getting this into Tivoli. Normally, you might be tempted just to export the whole thing as, an FBX or a single GLTF file. But what we're going to do is use Tivoli's scene exporter for Blender. What this is going to do, here I'll just hit the button, is take this 500 megabyte scene and convert all of the textures into WebP, which is an extremely efficient image format that's much smaller than JPEG, but actually lossless, or quite close to lossless, at a fraction of the file size. It takes some pre-processing, and then it's going to export the entire scene as a JSON file. And what this is going to do is give every single object in this scene its own kind of entity for Tivoli, complete with entity properties like whether or not it has physics or, its transform and its location in the world, a URL to the mesh itself that contains it, URLs to the textures, to the new WebP textures, and other properties. It even names the entities. So what you're going to find is a one-to-one correlation between the entity and the object in Blender. I'm going to pause recording while we let it do its WebP conversions. Okay. Let's take a look. Great. And we're continuing. So let's see what this has output. I'll go back to my Lazybones file, and you can see that our tool created a new folder called Lazybones, and the size of that folder is 81.5 megabytes, which is a substantial reduction in size from 501. And you can see here that every entity or every object in the Blender scene has a corresponding GLTF file. And let's go bring it. Let's see, it's by alphabetical order here, so you can see our if we look in our Stegosaurus, it has head and tail and legs. We can find corresponding files in here. Now let's see, we have a JSON file in this scene. What we'll do is go over to Tivoli, edit, import entities, and I'll just grab that JSON. Let me just find it in here. Files, projects, Lazybones, lazybones.json. And voila, here is our scene in Tivoli. And as you can see, it's come in just the same. We need to wait for those WebP textures to load up, but they come in pretty darn quickly, considering. And you'll see that everything that we had in the Blender file has now come in as its own entity. And there's a mesh here called ground sheet, which is the ground, and we can address its entity properties directly. So I'm going to give it exact collision so we can walk around on it. And you'll see, voila, it is here. This is, of course, unlit. So I'm just going to slap a zone on here real quick and give it some lighting with a sun. But you get the idea. You can easily work in Blender and bring your content straight into Tivoli. This completely changes the way that we can create worlds in Tivoli. Of course, you still have access to all of the create tools that have been normally available, so you can, move and manipulate things once you bring it in. But we're hoping that if you're building a complex scene, you'll go ahead and do it in Blender. This makes things a lot easier. Blender to Tivoli. Thanks for looking.